Well, Sabbath greetings to everyone. Hope you had a fantastic week. It has been a great week here in Sussex. As you can tell, it's far from being the Sabbath yet. I'm just trying to get this done when I've got a little bit of quiet in the house. I wanted to get a video up. You can see the sun shining through here. It's been a little bit, a little chilly, but I'm not complaining because the sunshine is wonderful. Wonderful to have some sunshine out there. I think got still probably just enough time to go out and get the yard mowed. It's looking pretty crazy out there. It looks about like a jungle. So I want to try to get that done here after I get this posted. But I hope you're having a good week. You know, I've found this as I get out and talk to more people and have more appointments and you know, have the opportunity to talk to more and more of you. I'm really encouraged by just the impact that it appears that these spring holy days have had on so many in the church around the area. And I hope that's true for you personally. I hope it's been impactful. I hope it's been insightful. It's a powerful time of year, and it's an important time of year for us, and we're still in it. You know, this year it struck me probably more than any other year, really, in that sense, that all of these spring holy days are linked together because we started that count during the days of unleavened bread, and we're still in this sort of mode of you know, self-examination and really thinking through, and then we're going to be covering the impact of Pentecost and what it pictures for us and what it means and how important that is in the plan of salvation. So it's an exciting time. I hope it's been impactful for you. I hope it is continuing to be impactful. So I know that God is certainly involved around the area and in the church as a whole, all over. And so that's exciting and encouraging, and it's really just great. So I appreciate so many of you sharing your stories with me and letting me know, you know, how impactful it's been and how much you've appreciated the opportunities that you've been afforded this holy day season. Well, I wanted to cover here real quickly. This is from the Washington Post. I think it was reported on in a lot of different places, but back in, I think it was November or so, if I'm looking at this right, that Stephen Hawking said that well, the Earth probably had about 1,000 years left, which in the grand scheme of things, you know, all the scientists and everybody else is saying, well, that's just that's a very, very small amount of time in comparison with how long the Earth has been around. So it was just here recently, just in the last, when was this? May 5th. So that was just today. This was being reported that Stephen Hawking actually moved his prediction up from 1,000 years to 100 years. And now he's saying that we better have some place to resettle, some other planet to resettle, because 100 years, the planet Earth is just not going to be able to sustain life anymore. For various different reasons. If I can find a few of them, I want to read a little bit of that. You know, we need to find what he calls a planet B to colonize. Let's see here. What is he saying here? I think it had to do with you know, certain things that we've been avoiding, such as, you know, major cataclysmic events like, for instance, a meteor or something major hitting the Earth and that sort of thing. So surely in the next 100 years, I mean, that's just, maybe we have 100 years that the Earth, I'm not going to quote from the article, but that was the gist of it, and it's been reported on by a lot because Stephen Hawking is someone who people really listen to when it comes to those types of predictions. He's a very, very intelligent man, but it always, you know, I don't smirk to be rude, but it makes me smirk a little bit when I hear these kind of things like, you know, well, you know, 100 years, we better go out and colonize somewhere else, and we better have other plans and this sort of thing. So they totally disregard anything that's in this book, and I smirk because it's all written down. We know that the Earth is not going to be destroyed. It's not anything we have to fear. It's nothing we have to worry about. We know that it's going to be a very cataclysmic time that comes, and we read about it all through the book of Revelation and so much of the prophecies throughout the the major and the minor prophets, and Daniel and Revelation, and we have so much prophecy that predicts the future, that tells the future of how things are going to end up, and we know what the end of it is going to be. For instance, even back in Genesis chapter 9, after the flood, there was a sign that God put in the sky as a sign of the covenant. In verse 15 of Genesis 9, he says here, "I will remember my covenant which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. The waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh." So he says, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to flood the earth. I'm not going to destroy everything that's living on the earth anymore with a flood. And the implications are, as we understand, he's not going to do it by any other means either. He's not going to start over, if you will, and wipe everything out and start over like he did during the flood. And just 8 souls survived there on the ark. I believe it was 8, right? Sorry, I think that's it. I'm just extemporaneous in that, but I'm pretty sure it was just 8, Noah and his family. But bottom line is that's neither here nor there. But the point is that he says he's not going to do that again. And if we go over to Matthew chapter 24, and this is another very powerful prophecy. It's this prophecy we cover so often because of the significance of it and how detailed Jesus Christ gets in the Olivet prophecy when he says down in verse 21, he says what's going to happen because of the sins of the whole earth will be full in that sense. And we're getting there. The earth is, human beings have really lost touch on reality at this point, and just about anything goes. There's not much common sense left. There certainly isn't any, moral compass any longer. But he says here in verse 21, "For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been since the beginning of the world until this time, no, nor ever shall be. And unless those days were shortened, no flesh would be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days will be shortened." For the elect's sake, for the sake of those few that God is working with, he's not going to destroy all flesh. He said he wasn't going to do it with the flood. He's not going to do it with the Great Tribulation either. We covered that coincidentally in the Bible study on Wednesday night in part 3 of Isaiah, that there will be a few men left. He says specifically, there will be a remnant of Israel left. Just a tithe of Israel. And so there will be folks coming from Israel and from other nations that will survive through the tribulation in the day of the Lord, and they'll go on into the millennium. But he says very specifically in several places that he's not going to destroy all flesh. He's not going to make this planet uninhabitable. We're not going to have to go out and recolonize some other planet. It's all right here. All you have to do is just read it. And of course, that's what's missing. There is no faith, and there's no fear of God before them. They're not in fear of the great God who says the beginning from the end. He's the one that gives us so much detail as to what we can expect as we get closer to the end of the age. And there's smart guys like Stephen Hawking, and maybe they think they've got a lot of things figured out, and I don't put them down. They're very intelligent, but they don't have spiritual understanding. God has called the weak of the world to confound the mighty, to confound the Stephen Hawkings and the others. Because why? Because we know what this book says, and we believe it, and we have faith in it, and we're trying to live by it to the best of our ability. So then we can be assured that God is not going to, force us onto another planet. He's not going to destroy everything off the earth. We know that. There's going to be a terrible time coming, but there's hope and there's a future. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I hope you have a fantastic Sabbath wherever you plan to keep it. We are planning, God willing, to be in the Dells for this Sabbath. We're looking forward to seeing the brethren there. The rest of you, I hope you have a fantastic Sabbath. I love you all. Take care. Be careful out there. And we'll talk to you again real soon. Have a great Sabbath.